Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There is a little delay that happened. Trying to locate where is the Skype to connect it. Anyways, that is not seen on the launch pad. Beginning in a few seconds. The choiceless awareness. The flowering of choiceless awareness. Recently, I had started a Facebook group, the Naqshbandi, Mujaddadi, Majhariya wa Ramchandriya Tariqat. This is how the system developed Tariqat, one of the tributaries that developed in India. But it is happening. Many generic paths have emerged, and they are continuing to do their work. In the wake of that, it is my responsibility as the Sheikh of the Tariqat to make sure the originality and authenticity is maintained. For instance, when Lalaji Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu has said, Betassubi, Sadakat ki jaan hai. Sadakat means truth. Betassubi means narrowness. During the time when he came in the company of his Sheikh Maulana Fazl Ahmad Khan Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, it was a period of Sunni dominance. It was considered that Naqshbandi Tariqat or the Sufi path was only for the people from the Islamic tradition, not for others. This is how human mind thinks. But what is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We do not flow with that. In yoga, there is a path comes called Sahaj Yoga. Sahaj means simple, spontaneous, natural. And it is said it is the easiest path. Yes, indeed it is easiest. But to be spontaneous, to be natural, is the most difficult thing. So this path is not easy because the man lives by the human mind and mind is never in harmony with all that is happening. Now there is a way. Those who are in the medical profession or in any profession, they will know when a particular medicine comes in, the company prepares the medicine with a brand. Along with that, many generic brands are developed. Each generic brand names its medicine based on one or the other ingredient used in the preparation. But that ingredient is not the only thing that is used. And when you look at the effectiveness of the original medicine and the generic, there is a vast difference between the two. Vast difference between the two. But the generic medicine is much cheaper and everyone can afford it as compared to original one. Then there are many restaurants who are selling variety of foods. They use the same dishes, but the choice of the ingredients differ. For instance, when you are making an Indian gravy, in that cashew nut is used in order to give the richness. You can replace this with 50% or certain percentage of cashew nut, and in certain you are using peanuts. There is a price difference between the two. You may call your particular dish the same as compared to the other, but quality wise it is different. Then we use artificial colors which are carcinogenic, very harmful, but they are price wise much cheaper. So those who are using the natural colors, for instance, the chili that comes from Kashmir gives a color, but it is an expensive ingredient as compared to the chemically produced colors. So ignorant one may say why these two places are selling things at different prices. So based on your own credit or your own resources, you choose the restaurant. In the same way, along the spiritual path, based on your own resources, you choose this or that. In the existence, all these things are allowed. Some has to stumble upon before they can find the correct path. So it is the existence of all these is essential. But as a Sheikh, it is my responsibility to make sure the authenticity is maintained. When Lalaji says narrowness, it was based on his own experience. The narrowness among the Muslim community, that this spiritual wealth cannot be shared with the people of the other religious sects. There was resistance. He continued to live at a time when these things were very much in the horizon. Betasubi means narrowness of all kinds. That This path cannot be made for women or people for other sects. And unless you go beyond in narrowness, you cannot enter the realm of truth. Truth is beyond all that is dualistic, all that encompasses the narrowness of various kinds. So this particular statement is part of Lalaji's teachings. The nature of this narrowness, the Taoshobuddha has changed now. It is of a different nature. But in one form or the other, Taoshobuddha remains. The narrowness, its nature changes. But it remains unless and until an individual transcends the narrowness. This veils the truth. It is not easy to understand the teachings of these masters. Why did he say that? The authenticity, when I mean the message of Lalaji, is to be presented in its original form. Another dimension comes in teaching. When a seeker comes to a master, he comes with a particular choice. It is not the seeker that has to decide, because his mind is deciding, not his innerness. He do not have any connection with his innerness. He cannot decide on the line of treatment. So the physician or the surgeon sends him for MRI, scans, X-rays and all these techniques. So he knows everything, what kind of line of treatment is to be used. Each seeker, when he comes with a certain, he is at a certain level of growth. He is not aware of it. He finds that this interest in this particular path or that, so he gets attracted to it. For instance, it again depends on how much advertisement is being given. A particular restaurant spends a lot of money in its advertisement. It becomes a prestige to go to that restaurant. The same thing happens in the world of spirituality. A particular path is being advertised with great fervor. So it becomes a prestige issue to be a part of that. But maybe that path is not for you. Who is going to decide? It is the MRI test that decides the line of treatment for the patient. So too, when a seeker comes in the company of a sheikh or a master, an awakened one, it is the light of that awakened one looks at everything and then decides on what should be the path that will help him to go through this inward journey. This is not an easy thing. It is I recall when I was growing as a child, so we were adults. I lived around Sufi masters. My grandmother, who was my mentor, my uncle, the mother's brother, and all of them were part of that household. So when my uncle, the master, will ask for water, he will hold the water cup in his hand, and with the movement of his head, he does something. What he does, we did not know at that time. So what we started doing, there was a competition among all the people of our age to do the same thing. Not knowing this is imitation. Imitation is much more harmful than anything else. So one day my grandmother called me. He said, "What are you doing this? Do you know what does the master do?" I said, "No." He said, "First figure out what does he do, and then you do. Imitation cannot take you far." And this is what it is happening at the moment along the spiritual path. We have imitation medicines in the form of a generic. A restaurant opens and someone else who has the resources decides to open a restaurant, but he wants to give the competition to that, so he reduces the quantity of the ingredients, and in the name of the authentic, he presents the imitation. So when later on I discovered, what does he do? The eyes are a channel through which the energy flows. The touch, through touch also energy flows. So when he holds the metal cup in his hand, the metal cup becomes the medium to transmit his energy through his hands into the metal, and through the metal into the water. And then when he looks at the water, the energy is transmitting through the eyes, and the water is energized, consumes that water. Not too long ago, one day I tried to do this experiment. My physician, he uses the alternate medicine. He can check the energy field on a scale of 0 to 10. So I told him I would like to hold the water in my hand, cast my glance, and you will check the energy field of the water. After I do this, but the metal cup was not available. That becomes easy medium to transmit the energy. So it was a plastic cup that was available. Pour the water into it. Normally the energy field, if it is of the water, if it is not acidic, the water, because of the process of its processing, it can be acidic or alkaline. Alkaline is more suitable to human health. I held the water in my hand. After 20 seconds, he put it on the water in the cup on the machine and tested it. Its energy level raised from 2 to 10, the maximum, the infinite. What did I do? Through the touch of my hands, and look at that, the energy level of water changed. It became a healing medium. In the same way, when a seeker comes and master, he allows his energy to, his light to pass through his innerness. The entire skyograph, the inner skyograph is clear to him, because the soul's journey is a continuation. Just as in this life, where you are now, you had a phase when you were a baby, when you were an infant, when you were a youth, certain traces remain, they do not change. And you can recognize, suppose you met a person when he was an adult. Now you are meeting him after 30 years. The body has undergone many changes, but there is something that helps you to recognize his original face. It is a continuation of the journey. In the same way, the soul's journey continues without a break. Where you have left in the last life, a simple example can be, and through that you can understand it. You are working in an office in a particular file. While you are working, the weekend comes, you cannot complete that. Then it is a Friday, then Saturday, Sunday, and then there may be a few days holiday. So it's a matter of maybe a week is lost in between the time when you left that particular file and when you have to start over. You have to refresh yourself where you had left. This is what happens. But on your own, you are not able to do that. When it comes to spiritual growth, it is the master who looks into it and he sees where you have left. Suppose you were working on a particular path of yoga, but in this life you get inclined towards Sai Baba. So, but you have left something of the yoga path incomplete. You have to finish that before you go on the other path. But no, you want to be, because there is too much of a publicity of the Sai Baba's path. You want to go, but that cannot help you because that is not your path. An authentic master will tell you that, my son, your share is not with me, as happened recently in one of the functions that took place in Washington, D.C. in memory of a Naqshbandi Sheikh of Hakini Tariqat, Sheikh Nazim al-Adil Hakini Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu. He was connected with a particular Sheikh. One day he told him that, I was holding your keys for up to now. Now your share is not with me. You have to go to this particular master in this particular place. How would I recognize you? Your master will recognize you. It happened. One of the seeker who used to come in the company of my grandfather Sufi Naqshbandi Brijmohan Lal and his father. He was in the company of one of the fellow disciples of Swami Vivekanand. His name was Latuji Maharaj. He was ready to get initiated. So when he expressed his desire to Latu about getting initiated, this is the nature of an authentic sheikh. He does not want numbers. He wants to work in you. So he said, your share is not with me. At this, the person asked, how would I recognize my sheikh? He said, you don't have to worry about. Your master will recognize you. And this is oft used Sufi statement. When disciple is ready, the master appears. Do you have the criteria to recognize the master? We go on saying that I am looking for a perfect master. But don't you think that a perfect master is looking for a perfect disciple also? You are not disciple, you have not discovered that pole into you that can attract the master. It is your own inner readiness that attracts the master and brings you in the company of that person. On your part, you have to continue to seek, are you inwardly ready to go along the path? Or you are playing games with your own life? The moment you are ready inwardly, the master appears. This is oft used Sufi statement. And the Sufi path moves around many parables, the statement of the masters. And it is very important when you use a parable that helps to understand the intricate matters very easily. Just like Asaf's fables, Zen koans, they help the seeker to understand the intricate matters. This is how the master continues his way. He allows everything to happen because the existence is not mine. I am here to carry on a certain work. I have no conflict with all those who are creating the generic medicines or who are selling, because everyone has to live and everyone has to carry on their own inward journey. Whatever credit you have earned, accordingly you live your life. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjun, when Arjun showed his inability that these are my family members, I have known these, how can I kill these? And what use will be of the kingdom after all these are killed? Krishna says, if you do not, I will have to do that. It is something like this. The visa of these people have been expired and they have to leave the country. So if you do not do that, then I have to do it. And Arjun was under the impression that it was he who killed. Then after the war was over, Krishna carried him to a tree on which the head of Barbarik was put. He was grandson of Bhim. When he was growing, he asked his mother what is the fastest way to attain salvation. The fastest way is go in enmity with Krishna. And if you get killed in his hands, you will attain to salvation. So he comes ready to challenge Krishna. He said, I am going to be on the side of Duryodhana. Krishna said, you cannot. So he excites Krishna and Krishna kills him. So he said, Krishna asked, he knew that this is what he wanted to attain to salvation. Then he asked Barbarik, what do you want. He said, I want to witness this war of Mahabharata. His head was placed on a nearby tree where the battle was taking place. So Krishna brought Arjun there, and when he said that, Bhim said, it is Arjun's arrows that killed the people, Babri burst into laughter. At this, Arjun inquired, why is he laughing? Then he mentioned it was the arrows of Arjun was being shot through the bow of Arjun, but in front of every arrow it was the wheel, the weapon, the ultimate weapon of Krishna. It is Krishna who killed everyone in that war, and Arjun was the instrument. A master is an instrument. He simply flows with the divine will. This is the will of the masters. This is the will that everyone has to live. Every restaurant, every brand of spirituality that is available. Because it is existing, I must allow it. But my emphasis is not to go against that, but to maintain my quality, my authenticity. So those who have earned the credit of being in my company, who can afford the price associated, price means the credit, how much you have credits, whether you deserve my company or not. When you decide to go to a restaurant, you know whether you can afford this particular restaurant or not. So you may go to a generic one that is selling the similar kind of product but at a lesser price. There will certainly be difference in the quality. So it all depends on whether you can afford this, but the significance of every one is there in the scheme of existence. This is how the spiritual path goes on. And when this begins to flower, you are in a state of choiceless awareness. Choiceless awareness has nothing to do with positive thinking. The teaching of positive thinking is not a technique that can transform you. It is simply repressing the negative aspect of your conscious mind. It is a method of choice. It cannot help awareness, and it goes against awareness. Awareness is always choiceless. I am absolutely against positive thinking. But this is the way we live in the world. You will be surprised that if you do not choose and you have a choiceless awareness, your life will start expressing something which is beyond both positive and negative. Instead, higher than both. So you are not going to be a loser in any way. It is not going to be negative, and at the same time it is not going to be the positive. You remember, when you have a bulb in your socket, it is connected to two poles, the positive and the negative. Positive comes from the external source. The negative is generated from the body itself. So negative pole comes from there and the positive comes from the external source. And when the positive and negative neutralize one another, that something is born that is light. And when the positive and negative neutralize one another, something is born, the choiceless awareness. If you want to attain to total freedom, then do not choose. That is where the teaching of the choiceless awareness comes, the authenticity. This is the reason why the great masters insist just to be aware, not to choose. Remember, the moment you choose, you have lost your total freedom. You are left with one part. But if you remain choiceless, your freedom remains total. So there is only one thing which is totally free, and that is choiceless awareness. Everything else is limited and finite. That which is limited and finite cannot take you far. Never choose. If you choose, you will be in a quagmire. Therefore, do not choose. A choiceless awareness is the goal and the way to. Just remain aloof. Do not choose. The moment you choose, you have fallen into the trap of the world, into the trap of the mind. But the moment you do not choose it, you are flowing with the divine will. Whatsoever you choose, you will repent, because the other part will haunt you. If you need absolute freedom, then choiceless awareness is the only way. Awareness means you come with inner light. You move fully alert. Each step is taken in awareness, the waking, the coming, and sitting. Everything is done in full awareness, or it becomes the epitome of awareness. The scientific research in 2010 in California have explained that Buddha's method of mindfulness creates something that helps an individual to attain a kind of a totality when it comes to the mind. If you are aware, you speak with awareness. But the awareness comes from the innerness or being. It flows from the inner being towards the others. It is the inner quality of consciousness. It has nothing to do with closed or open eyes. Awareness has its own light and vision. Therefore, walk with awareness, eat with awareness, breathe with awareness. Then awareness will become the breath and life force into you. Then awareness will become the life force into you, and your life will begin to move in a certain disciplined way. Remember, three things are important: discipline, determination, and the first, discipline has to be there, and then capacity of decision making. When these three things are combined together, your path becomes easy. So let there be a choiceless awareness. Let the inner light continue with its own light and vision, and the path continues. Only this much for this morning. Until Saturday, this program, this live broadcasting happens 3 days for the week: Saturday, Sunday and Monday, between 6 a.m. Eastern Time to 7. Sometimes the talk is shorter. It all depends upon what is being overflowed. So Saturday, Sunday and Monday, if you wish, you can join. And this talk will also be available, posted afterwards on the Facebook, so you can listen to it again if you wish. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.